the middle of nowhere. Now when I say the middle of nowhere, I mean the middle of nowhere. This was the summer of 2005. We were both in college. We had decided to backpack down Eastern Europe. We arrived at Turkey. We had ran into some problems in Turkey. I had a run-in with a hostel owner. My brother accidentally bought a hooker. That's another story. Either way, we needed to go somewhere else. We had about a week to kill, so we thought, let's go to Syria. So we asked around. We had heard some rumors that if you arrive to the border, they'll find a visa for you. So we hopped on the bus, arrived to the border. We checked our passports out of Turkey, and then they would not let us into Syria. Not yet. So we sat there in the middle of nowhere for 13 hours. At 10:30 at night, finally the visa comes in. Our now new friends, the guards on the border, in their brown shirts, brown pants, black hair, black mustache, they said, your visa has come. There's no buses at this hour, but this guy will take you. So the guy in the car was that guy. He chain smoked all the way. He didn't speak any English, we didn't speak any of his language, so we just sat there in silence. Right as the sun began to rise, we could see the town of Aleppo in the distance. So we could see the iconic limestone buildings that just hung on the hills. You could see all the mosques lining the top of these hills, their domes shining in the sunlight. Different minarets were just poking up into the sky. We spent about 2 days in Aleppo. We walked all through the winding streets, looking at all these ancient buildings. We spent almost an entire day in one of the souks, which are the markets in Syria. Like I mentioned, this was the summer of 2005. The Iraq War had just started. They didn't get many visitors, let alone American visitors, so everybody was very interested in our story and why we were there. Everyone invited us to their markets, and they invited us to tea and to snacks after we drank more tea than we can imagine, learned everything about our new friends. They were interested in us and very excited to share their stories about their country and their place. After our days in the city, I suggested to my brother that we go to this town, Palmyra. And he hadn't really heard about it. It was just a place that I'd read in this book that I found on the border when we were waiting for 13 hours. I'd heard we could maybe get a bus out there. He agreed. So we asked around, we found a bus, we hopped on the bus, and we started our ride. So we went about an hour outside of the city. Slowly the civilians started leaving the bus. Soldiers started getting on. We seemed a little concerned. We kept riding. We saw some tents in the desert out in the distance, a row of tanks, still riding. Eventually it was just my brother and I and soldiers on the bus. The bus driver stops, points to us and points to the door. We looked out. There was no ancient city. There were rolling, sandy desert hills. One of the soldiers sensed our apprehension and he says, Iraq, 20 kilometers. Saying that if we kept going, we were going to Iraq. So I was like, we better get off. So we get down. The minute our feet hit the sand, the bus was gone. And here we were in the desert. Now, I was the older sister. My brother looked to me. I had no idea what to do. So he just says every mean thing he can think to say about his sister. We're two American kids in the desert, almost to Iraq. What are we gonna do? We don't have food, we don't have water, we don't have a map. As he's just really getting really deep into the insults, we hear this, I look around, and there's this very kind, smiling face. A man in a sort of a golf cart turned sandmobile, and he goes, you wanna go to Palmyra? And we say, yeah. And he's like, I would be honored to be your tour guide. I can show you the ancient city. I will take you to my family tomb. I will walk you to the oasis. You can see where we grow all our food. And I assume you want to take the 5:15 bus back to Damascus. And we say,